Hello and welcome to Retro Gaming Swede. My name is Oskar and today I'll show you 5 must-have games for the Super Nintendo. Are you done with Zelda and think the Fat Plumber should be reduced to some minor cameos? Then this video's for you. Now these games might not be the most expensive and sought after titles for the Super Nintendo, but nonetheless, all these games are all something special. Some of them are classics that everyone knows about, and a couple are titles that no one for some reason ever talk about. And yes, a couple of them even made their way to the Super Nintendo Classic Mini console, and one on the Japanese Mini. But before we get going, check this out. Are you tirelessly checking eBay for collectible games but don't want to sell your house to afford them? Are you bored of just playing the same games over and over? Then subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the bell to see how I do it, without wasting too much cash. And maybe find out about some awesome games you've never heard of. Oh, and leaving a comment and a like helps too. So, the first game is one of those absolute classics. Do you like good music? Do you like fast racing? Do you like explosions? Then this game's for you. F-Zero. Yeah, when this game was released, it was a technical marvel. It just looks so awesome with the amazing Mode 7 effects and the superb use of strong bright colors. And boy does it look good. The track moves in a way that hadn't been seen before, and the crazy high speed racing that was unprecedented back in the day is almost as fun as it was back then. Yes, almost. The controls feel a little bit off by today's standards, and the way you bounce like a pinball between the edges of the course and your opponents when you hit them can be absolutely infuriating. But otherwise, the game is just great. The difficulty is also just as high as you remember, and it takes some serious practice to get to the higher levels. I can't really talk about this game without talking about the music either. It's one of the most recognizable on the Super Nintendo, and it sounds absolutely awesome. I remember back in the day, I used to play this at a neighbor's house. Me and a friend played this over and over, passing the controller between each other. That is also the game's biggest flaw: no multiplayer. But the reason for no multiplayer is that the game is so demanding of the Super Nintendo that they needed to make it slower to have the ability to show the game in split screen. And that just wasn't acceptable. The next one up is a sequel to one of my favorite NES games ever. Do you like cheating opponents? Are you good at remembering attack patterns? Well, that's the entire game. So good for you. Here's Super Punch-Out! Yeah, this is probably the best boss rush game ever made. It's got everything you want: cartoony and funny opponents, super polished gameplay, and a deafening difficulty. You really need to study your opponent to stand a chance. The graphics are amazing, with huge enemy sprites and some really amazingly detailed characters. Oh, and there's some nice transparent effects on Little Mac. The controls are of course super satisfying, and the audience are also pretty detailed for a Super Nintendo game. They've added a point system this time around and a new super attack system that you charge up and can use a heavy punch and a series of quick punches. So you don't need to hoard star punches anymore, which is a really big improvement over the first game. There's also a time attack mode this time around, and it's surprisingly fun to beat your opponents faster and faster, because you always need to be on top of the high score for your own games. The next game is more of a series. Do you have a friend? Do you like kicking the shit out of your opponents? Well, the next one is Super Street Fighter 2. As I said, this is more of a serious thing. You can go for any game in the Street Fighter 2 series. All of them play absolutely amazing on the Super Nintendo. This is a Japanese version of Super Street Fighter 2, by the way. Buying Japanese versions of some of these games can be a really good way to bring the price down. Most arcade conversions are in English anyway, so that's not a problem. The Japanese versions of the Street Fighter games also has the names shifted compared to the Western releases, with Vega, Bison and Balrog being switched around. I guess it's because Nintendo didn't want the box's name to be close to Tyson in the West. If you've got a friend, these games are some of the best pick up and play fighting games for the Super Nintendo, and is one of my most played games for the system. Although I absolutely suck at playing versus the CPU. Anyway, the Street Fighter series is one of my absolute favorite game series. All the way from the amazing intro of the game and the awesome character roster and good looking sprites and stages make this series an absolute must have. Next one up is sort of an oddball. Do you have a sense of humor? Do you like shooting things? Do you want to see an octopus shooting a cat pirate ship populated by penguins? Well then, this is tailor-made for you. Parodius! I absolutely adore this game. It's just so wacky and funny, and you never know what enemies will show up. And yes, you can play as an octopus. There's totally 4 ships available in this solid shoot 'em up. There's Vic Viper from Gradius, there's a shooting octopus, Twinbee from Twinbee, and Pentaru from, I don't know, it's a shooting penguin! Why do you care where it's from? How can you not love that? Anyway, the game plays like Gradius, with a power-up meter at the bottom so you can select the power-up you want. There's some awesome stuff to get in there, and the difficulty is there. The screen is quickly filled with enemies and bullets, and you really need some practice to get through it. If you have a sense of humor and enjoy some shoot 'em up action, this is an absolutely solid buy. I mean, a shooting penguin! The last game today is sort of a hidden gem. Do you like shooting and running? Do you want crushing but fair difficulty? Have you played Contra and Gunstar Heroes and want more? Then this is made for you. Realm. Realm is a run and gun game quite inspired by Gunstar Heroes. Released late in the Super Nintendo's life, it never really got much attention. It plays really well and the controls are solid. There's a host of cool weapons to find, like the homing gun and the tri-gun. It's really fun to experiment with weapons and try them all out. But don't go around thinking this game is a cakewalk. This game is hard as balls! In my capture footage I play on easy and I couldn't even pass the first level. The enemy design might not be the most imaginative in the world and the backgrounds look pretty good, but are a bit generic. But the fair but hard difficulty, the playability and the different fun weapons make up for it. The nice thing about this being sort of a hidden gem is that it's fairly cheap. If you don't fancy selling your organs to the mob, this is a really good game for your hard-earned cash. So if you like run and gun games, this is a really solid game. So that was my 5 must-have games for the Super Nintendo. What do you think? What's your favorite games? Maybe you think one of these suck? Then tell me in the comment section. If you want to see more must-have games, press the subscribe button and hit the bell to be instantly notified when I post new content, and leave a like to make sure more of these videos get made. I usually post my main content on Wednesdays and try to do one live stream every week, with some other content thrown in between for good measure. After that shameless plugging, I hope you liked this video and I hope to see you again next time. Goodbye.